This is Single and Probably Asexual with Kendra K.
That show is just like amazing.
It's the best.
I love that show.
It is the best.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I have a podcast
Oh
now.
my god. I want to know, like,
which is crazy.
how you're feeling about it.
Okay, I will let you know how I'm feeling. And then we're going to get into your introduction.
Yes.
I am excited,
Yes.
but I'm also overwhelmed. And that's why you're a big reason of why I wanted to start this with.
Yeah.
Because of, like, the title of this episode, Are
Yes.
We Asexual and Pansexual
Pansexual
Enough?
Yeah. Yes,
Who knows?
yes.
We have our own, ideas and
Exactly.
interpretations on it. But so I'm excited, but I'm also nervous.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because I feel like this podcast is definitely going to be like a big learning thing for me. Like I want to explore my sexuality more, learn more about what it means to be asexual, pansexual, demisexual. I mean, I want to know all different aspects and everything. So I'm excited, but nervous. And I'm just trying.
Adventurous feeling. You know, you're exploring.
I'm exploring,
You're
and
exploring yourself as you're traveling with the van and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
and I know this podcast is going to be like a whole lot of exploring, which is going to be great. But then that can also be hard, obviously, and like rough at times. So I think it's like I'm a little nervous about that aspect, but I know it's going to be good.
Yes.
And I'm so excited.
I'm just so honored that you like contact me to like do this as a like a first like along with the Impossible Boudoir project. Like that was also like a tryout. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but can you be the first? I was like, fuck yes! Oh my god, of course! Like, and it's so funny too because like the progress of growth that we both have with it, of just with bodies and like how we perceive ourselves and like others and such. Like you've taught me and helped me with that journey from like that project and just throughout our friendship that like this was like an absolute fuck yes. Like when you reached out to me, I was like no hesitation. I was screaming because I know you were Marco Poloing about it and I was just like what? Like I had to make a pause. I was like, oh my god, this is so amazing. And then I had to like listen to the rest of it. So I'm just so honored that you reached out and be like, hey, can you do this? I was like,
well, I am so happy that you want to be a part of this and that you're always so gracious to be my first person for everything. But yeah, so how I know Yuki, we've been friends for a while and I started this project called the Impossible Boudoir Project where I wanted to highlight 12 different women who had this reason that they felt that boudoir was impossible for them. And so Yuki's reason was that she has eczema head to toe and it used to be a lot worse and it's thankfully getting better and better as the years progress, which is amazing. But she was my first person and it was just, again, just like with this project, it's like it's so nerve-wracking and scary and like I was so terrified to start the Impossible Boudoir Project because it's so intimate.
It's like very intimate.
You're photographing women who probably never ever in their lives would have thought they would have ever done this.
No.
And especially because they had all of these other things, like I photographed Emma who was paralyzed and my friend Jana who had a mastectomy. Like these are very intimate and raw moments for people. So that was an amazing project. And so Yuki was my first girl for that and it was amazing. And so of course, naturally when I started this, I was like, I need you to be my first guest here because we're just in alignment with all these things. And I really wanted you to be on because we talk on Marco Polo, this app, all the time. And we were talking about this podcast and just about sexuality. And it really stood out to me when you were like, sometimes I don't feel pansexual enough. And I was like, well, that's great because I am a baby asexual. I fully identify as demisexual, which you do as well. And like I know demisexual, I know what that means. I'm aligned with that and everything. And now I think I'm probably asexual. So this is a learning podcast for me, but I really wanted to have you on because I mean, again, as I mentioned, I want to talk to so many people, people who are in polyamorous relationships, like everything. I just want to, the entire spectrum, because it is a spectrum. But the spectrum can be
just like, it's so broad.
It's so broad.
Wide, and this is also still new to be talked upon.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It just got finally accepted past, like, I don't know, less than a decade. Like, not even a decade.
Right.
And so, even though the love itself is so as it is, but to be okay to talk about it freely and publicly, like that's like still rare. Right. It's still uncomfortable because you're not used to it. It's just a matter of like owning who you are, but you can't.
Even with the messiness that may come with it, or the not understanding some parts.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And if you don't feel like you're accepted to explore by the world, it's hard to like actually explore that within yourself. Right. And so I don't think you feel like enough unless you go out there. But it's like, where do you start? Like, how do you start? And like, especially with the pandemic hitting, like it's just harder to do that. And it's like, because this is about sexuality isn't just about yourself. It's also like how your relationship with other people and how it reflects
how you see other people.
You need other people to recognize what that is for you. And it's just like so interesting because I haven't really explored enough in that aspect at all. Like,
which is why we have this question of like, are we in the spectrum enough? Like,
it's like, is it okay to like not preach, but like also label as myself to represent myself? Is this who I am? Because I'm still not sure enough to like, this is it, but it feels so right to me for now. And it could change. Like being like I've known friends through middle school and high school too that they were like, for sure they were thought bisexual, and it turns out they were completely lesbians. Like I think that transition is like you explore and you figure it out, and
like you are bisexual.
You were there. You were
and like
there.
you didn't know that until late, like recently-ish in life.
In the past 5 years or something.
Which also is like, it's beautiful about this because it's like it is such a big spectrum, and I think for most people, they kind of can identify really early on, like, I'm pan, I'm asexual, I'm gay, I'm straight, I'm trans, but sometimes it's like, well, I don't really know what I am.
Because those definitions weren't even like a thing. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I only knew like straight, gay, bi. Like,
we knew like the LGBT. But we didn't know like the QIA plus.
And it's like, oh, I don't know if because I remember talking to you too, as like in middle school, like being gay was really cool for some reason. Like my school is very unique in that way.
Seattle school,
alternative school. Like they were very exploring, but they put it as in a way of like, not fetishizing, but they just thought it was a trending thing, not just who you are. So I never wanted to offend anyone of like my own sexuality, because there were still people who were like faking like they were gay to be close to someone, and that's not fair. And I hearing that, it made me, it was like, oh, can I own myself to like my own words of like who I am, to like, and you're a teenager, you're still exploring who you are, your hormones are everywhere. Like, it's not gonna really turn out the way of like define this is me. And I think that I honestly, you were there when I opened up about my sexuality, and it's because I felt safe enough to.
And that is my first question that I have for you is when did you realize that you were pan specifically? Or you can talk about when you realized that you were bi as well. But I really want to know about the whole, but like when you thought, like, you were like, no, I'm definitely pan. Like, I am attracted to anybody and not like everybody, but like, I can be attracted to any person, however they look, however they present themselves. It doesn't matter what's between their legs. If they look like cisgendered woman, cisgendered man, like it's just, it doesn't matter.
It's like if we vibe, and we felt in this sexual connection, like that's great. And it confuses me a lot because I don't think I have a dot on it when I realized I was pansexual, but I remember that feeling when I saw the word and read the definition.
And it just
like clicked. I was like, oh, because for me, like, it wasn't about the gender. Like, it wasn't about because you're a girl, you're a boy. Like something about you lures me to, like, oh my God, I want to have this connection. But I'm also, like, demisexual. Actually, Nika Nico was the first person to show me that definition. And I didn't know that. And literally, that first clicked. And then I read the pansexual, and I was like, oh my God, it's like a combination of the two. And because I was like, I like girls, but I don't like all girls. And I like guys, but I don't like all guys. And I was like, what is the difference? It's about the vibe. And I didn't know if that was like a definition of like me just not knowing, or is it just like a person to person thing? And then for some people, that difference was like appearance. Like, I have a hard time connecting sexually, like, unless I have a connection of like emotionally.
That's the demisexual aspect that we both have. We need that emotional connection in order to feel any sort of physical, intimate, sexual, romantic relationships with someone. We need that connection.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I didn't know if that came from my upbringing of like wanting a certain way of affection by a certain person, and I didn't know what that was of like where I stood at as like sexually of like, is this just my own like grow up like trauma and like healing like not trend but like mechanism of like trying
coping
to figure
mechanisms,
out
healing.
But I was like, but some people you just click and you start as friends or you vibe, and like I have this tendency to like maybe what if that person is out there for me, and so I would think of like each person that not in a sexual way is like what if they were my partner like are supposed to be, and I just don't see the sign. I don't think mentally I was like open / like had the space enough to feel like I could have a partnership. That I think that's why I'm still confused about my sexuality, because I haven't found that person that made me feel safe enough to feel like, oh, I can explore, this is who I am. But for now, the definition is like, and I think it was really close time to when you were there, that when I found out about my sexuality, of like owning up to it felt good. It wasn't like, oh, I feel off, because before I think I wasn't proudly saying that I was a bisexual because it didn't feel like it didn't click in with me. But pansexual, I've been saying it over and over again, and it feels good. You know, like I wouldn't keep continuing to use that word if it didn't feel good. You know? And I have a feeling there was going to be more definition, more detailed of like what sexuality is, and maybe I'll have another one, and that's okay, because I'm still exploring what that is. It's okay to shift from like was a label to label to label if as long as you're adjusting. You're not wishy-washy, like you're like shifting constantly of just like improving of like yourself, of figuring out who you are. And like if you are like, if you know for sure that if you're bisexual and then you become pansexual and you go back bisexual, that's also okay. Like as long as you're being true to yourself, like it doesn't matter what label is, because this label isn't really for just other people, it's for me, to feel it's for validation for myself, it's for your own person. So I can't really answer the question of exactly like when, but I think it was around the time that you were there the first time. So same era, like same year, I'm pretty sure. And
that's beautiful too, because like I remember you were going through so many things, and you were like, actually I think I like women, and like all these things, and then like when you said that you were pansexual, I was like, oh, that just totally
makes sense.
Clicks. But it's so funny because when we were talking on Marco Polo, you were just like, I don't know, I don't feel pansexual enough, and I was like, well, I don't feel asexual. Like I feel like I'm just new to this, and like, can I claim myself as asexual and like feel like I feel personally like comfortable with it, like after you know being demisexual and then knowing what asexuality is and like what an ace person kind of is, and it's just like that totally clicks with me. But I feel like it can sometimes be intimidating thinking of like the broader spectrum, and like I'm also in this place where I feel like I'm demisexual and asexual, but I also don't know. I feel like I'm also possibly like queer questioning, because the only person I've ever been with in my past was a man, and I'm a cisgendered woman. I identify as a woman, and that's the only point of reference I have, sort of thing. And it's hard for me to look and find attraction to other people because I'm asexual. I just don't have that. I appreciate people's good looks. I mean, I am a boudoir photographer, and I take naked pictures of people all the time, and I appreciate all body types. But when it comes to that, like, oh, I feel like a connection or attraction, it's hard. So I don't. I love and appreciate all people, and I still just don't know if I'm straight asexual and demisexual, or if I'm queer questioning, or if one day I'll be like, you know what, I think I am bi, and it's because I had this experience with this other woman or something, and it was just kind of
you're open to it.
Exactly, open to it. And again, it's like going back to like the beginning of this podcast, like it can be scary talking about things that like you're still kind of unsure about, but that's also
because it's the
beauty
process part. Because people only show the outcome of what you have, and like it's not many people show the progress of it, but people are so interested of like
people want to present the final thing, and like we forget about like the journey, the messy part. That's like the beautiful part too.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's just so beautiful that we're both on the same line, because I don't know about you, but I think most of my friends are pretty secure. It looks secure,
in their
and maybe
sexuality.
we do too.
Right.
You just don't know of the perspective
of others.
You just don't know how they see you. It's like same as confidence. Like you might not feel the most confident,
but then everyone's looking at you being like you're a baddie.
Yes, exactly. So it could be the same way of like how people perceive you is so different. So it's literally just up to you of how you want to put it out there, and then that's been always a battle of me. I'm like, I think I think I am, and then like it's just like a little bit of a battle just with yourself,
right? And how do you think that like? So when we talk about like I don't feel asexual enough and you don't feel pansexual enough, even though we both pretty much feel like we identify as these labels, like you're pan and bi, I'm asexual, demisexual, you're also demisexual. So like when you think about it. When you think maybe like it even like bleeds into like the community itself, like the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah. What makes you feel that you are not pansexual enough?
Wow, that's a good question.
You know,
because
title of the episode,
right? Yeah, I know. I think I don't know if it's. I'm still in the process, right?
Right.
So I don't know if it's exactly like, am I pansexual enough? It might be like, am I good enough? You know what I mean? Like with anything, I would just, that would be it's a habit at this point. Yeah. Like I know I am good enough as a person and who I am. I made it this far. You too.
I feel that too.
We're all such like, we're doing our hardest. That's good enough. But we don't
We're our worst critics. We're our worst fucking critics.
And we're so hard on ourselves. Like I think I don't know if this is like, it probably is, but like the society of like, if you're not working hard and if you don't have this specific outcome, you're not doing good. Right. You're not doing enough. Like it's always been that I think that part of have to work with society of my sexuality to explore. But it's like my own validation of like I'm good enough is like I think it's intertwined together. Right. That I think that's what it came on as like. I think it's still a habit of from my middle school, like I don't want to offend anyone. Am I doing this enough? And it's like I am. It's just for me, but it's just like a constant battle of like, am I good enough to be? I think it's like this might sound weird, but I think it's just like a proceed of like it's still of a body thing for me. I think it's still kind of like how I would be accepted. Yeah, like I can act a certain way that maybe people might like me, but like. For me, what does that mean? Yeah. Like to be,
and you had such a journey with just being in your body.
Yeah, exactly.
Having eczema,
and you taught me that to like actually face it in the most beautiful way. Not like, hey, look and like try to like own it and like fix it. It wasn't like that. It was like, hey, you have beauty in you and outer of you. Like I just want you to see how I see you, and that was like. A perspective that no one could have shown me except for you. You literally words and physically have proven to me, and I still at that point was just like, oh, I don't know, but like coming from you, I don't think it would have been anyone else. It was because of you.
I'm special.
You're very special. You're one of my soul sisters for a reason. Like from soul to soul, you've seen me. Yeah. You weren't just seeing for me just an outer, like you've seen me of like of a deeper level of like of who I am that I didn't even know where that was. That I think like sometimes it's just easier to see of like that person's really awesomeness from outer perspective because you're just like seen as it is. But if you have it on you, it's like it's just on you. It's like a sticker. Like you don't realize how beautiful the sticker is until like someone is like actually like see it from afar. And shows like reflect it. It's like a literal mirror and like this is beautiful. And like at first I remember telling you too that like it was hard to look at them because it was like I still have that negative
self-talk.
This is how I'm supposed to look like and I don't look anything like,
or who am I to be this fierce in these photos in my skin.
And they were amazing photos. They were poses that I never thought I would ever show publicly, and I'm like still like there's still like a society part of me like, am I allowed to to show this, but I'm like,
hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Like we always like, we're not meant to be wearing like clothes constantly. It's not a type of expression. Clothes are a type of expression and like protection too.
Yeah.
And I think just putting yourself out there like almost completely naked and just being vulnerable, but I would never do that unless you gave me that open like space.
Right.
I felt so safe. Like the only reason why I was feeling nervous wasn't because of you. It was my own insecurity, which is like, you're not good enough to do this.
And that's like what you still think is like, okay, I'm not pansexual enough.
Yeah.
Like this is new to me, and also, do I even belong?
Yeah.
Like, do I belong in this category?
The community. Like, I think it's just like, it's so interesting because I think because I see all these beautiful like pansexual people, and I'm like, am I good enough to be in that community?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when I see such beautiful things, and it's like, oh, I don't know if I can fit in, because I've always been told I'm not in that perspective of beauty. Right. That I was like, can I represent that? I think I was too scared to be like my own thoughts of negativity towards myself was going to be validated from someone. But who fucking cares? Haters gonna hate, you know, right? Haters gonna hate. So, like, if anyone says anything negatively, that's not that's not an actual reflection of me. No. It's just a projection.
Projection from them, exactly.
And so I'm just like, I need to strengthen that part. And I am already strong. Right. But it's like, need to validate that I am strong enough to accept whatever it is, because it's not about them, it's about me. Right. This is my life, this is my sexuality. No one has to like define of like, oh, you're in this group because you check out this and this. It doesn't matter. It's like for me, right. And like, I think the label helps to connect with other people, and they understand,
and the community too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because that's I mean, LGBTQ plus everything was like created for those who were ostracized their entire lives,
not
and so
being accepted, being
outside of the binary of just straight people, you know, like, and that includes everything, transgender, intersex, everything. Yeah. But it's also like, it's such, we are like ally for sure. Yes. But 100%. I also feel sometimes it's like, because I am new to being asexual, it's like, I don't want to disrespect the community, like my community that I love, like the people that are like that I know, and like that
they know for sure, like or at least they look like they know for sure,
and maybe they're just in the same position as us, or maybe they're not, maybe they've known since birth that they were gay or trans or asexual. But it's like, for me, I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do it any disrespect, like I'm like a baby asexual, and like, you know, I don't know if I'm like bi or gay or queer or not, and it's all those worries. But it's also like, it's a group of understanding, for the most part, understanding and like lovable people who, and then this is the group for those people who are out of the norm of just being straight. And
it's like finding your people of like feeling, helping you feel okay to like open up about that, because like, if there are some people out there that are saying that they're ally or they're part of the community, and they correct you, no, this is not your sexuality, right? They'll try to correct you who you are, and I think it sucks that if you do fall into someone like that you would feel like, maybe I'm not, and then you feel stuck and you can't explore, and it's like, no, you can go do that in like your own definition. You can define yourself. No one can fucking define you at all,
and it can be an ever changing long journey.
We're like butterflies. We're meant to evolve, like we're supposed to spread our wings and you know, like have another cycle and keep going
all
like
the time.
It's insane. Like I think we need to celebrate more of the actual like blossoming of the growth part for each step, not just the actual outcome part, but like in the process of like owning it, of like, recognizing it, celebrate that, instead of like, oh, I think I kind of recognize it, but I still know if I can't. You know, and it's like retracting that. That's limiting yourself. I don't think there's any. If you're not physically, literally prancing on everyone, literally just being you, expressing, do it. Do it.
That's all you really have to do in life, is just give who you are. And even if you're unsure fully of what that is, or You know, we both feel, oh, are we asexual or pansexual enough? It's like, this is probably just a fleeting feeling. And one day we're going to be like, no, I am asexual. I am pansexual. This is my community. These are my people. This is how I identify. This is what feels the truth in my core.
Exactly.
And like, I didn't even know until recently, semi-recently, that I was asexual. Right. Same like kind of with you. Like you're like, okay, I'm bi. And I'm like, I'm demisexual. Same with you, demisexual. But then I was like, actually, I kind of think I'm asexual. And it's just, you know, again, with the life and the journey and everything, but me only having one partner in my past, it was kind of, I feel like it was easier for me to identify that like, yes, this isn't just an opportunity for having partnerships that's just like a lack of for me. There is something inside of me that is also, well, there's something inside of me that pushes it away for sure. But there's also something inside of me that's like, it doesn't jive. Like I don't jive with like meeting someone, never had a one night stand. I'm not, you know, shaming people who do. I feel like everybody should.
It's just your experience.
But it's just my experience. I for some reason I can't do it because I need that emotional connection and all of these things. And so it feels daunting sometimes just to, I guess, move now being not daunting. Like I feel more confident, like under being asexual and claiming that and like identifying that for myself. But it's an ever journey, and
it's going to be continuous.
It's going to be continuous.
It's like owning up to it, like whatever deep. It sucks because I don't think it's just like sexuality isn't just a dot that you can put on and like this is what it is and this is how I'm feeling. I think it's a continuous of like how you were. This is just my own definition, but I think it's like in a way of how you were treated, of like what love was presented to you. Like as much as like it was born with you, but I think to me it was a cycle of just like how my upbringing was. Like I think for me it was like influential of like, one of my best friends are like literally her parents were lesbians and they split, and then they had another like remarriage, and they were bisexual. One of them was a lesbian and married another, and I think like seeing that was for me was just like two people exploring like just being themselves. And I think if I didn't and that was normal because I grew up with that community, right? That I was just like, there's just two people, and I didn't understand as a kid too of like, why is that so out of like the norm of like, why are they not supposed to publicly be accepted? Like it didn't make sense to me. But it makes me wonder for people who've never seen that before, like it's harder to speak upon it. Like I think I'm very fortunate that I had a community that I've been influenced or seen that was okay. And that to a point in middle school thought it was like a trending thing, which was also kind of weird, but at the same time it was just helped me, I think, explore early on. Because I think
which is beautiful. Because you also see, you know, you hear a lot, like even the people that you were just talking about, like how they separated. But you hear a lot of stories where people are either in like, you know, heteronormative relationships, like they're man and a woman, and then they break up, and the guy's like, actually, I'm gay, and the woman's like, I'm gay too, or not, you know, in the same like scenario, but you know, there's a split, and there's like this realization later on in life, because there's also, which I'm going to talk about a lot on this podcast, the stigma of being single, and staying in relationships for XYZ. Maybe you had a kid together, and all of these things that like oppressed you from like actually getting to know yourself and saying, I actually might be gay or I might be pan, but I'm like in this relationship with this guy and I'm a woman and all this stuff. And it's so it's also I think it's, even though we're scared to like be learning all of these things, I also think it's beautiful that we're kind of like, we're taking initiative before we get to like this end goal, which could possibly be long-term commitment with someone. But it's like when we get there, we've spent the time knowing and like not researching, but like figuring out like who we want to, like the type of person we want to be with and who we love and identify with and all that stuff.
That's like, it's, I don't know. It's like you said, that it's like it's an endless cycle, and it's just like like it's a good reflection of where your mind to be accepted of like who you are, if that makes sense. Like I think because this is like I don't think I would have recognized this unless it was nowadays, to be honest with you, because I started to put myself out there of like social media. Like social media can be such a dark spiral. Like there's a whole fucking, it's a different universe out there that I'm just like, I don't even know how to comprehend, but I take it on my benefit to explore who I am of pansexuality, and people responding back to that was honestly was just like, it was validating. Like it was like, oh, okay. Like,
and that's like the beautiful part of social media too. Is like, although there are going to be haters and all these things, but it's like there is going to be that community that's like, no, I agree with you. Like your thoughts are my thoughts. Like I feel the same way, or I identify the same way, and I'm still trying to find either that community or just finding like the reason within myself to like believe it.
Exactly. It's that team mindset, and I'm not used to that of like having, I think you too, like I think like trying to figure out on your own, or like you're not supposed to, it's like your emotions, like you're not supposed to like talk about it. It was always taboo, and like you have to like repress it. And I think that was probably also huge too. I think both of our upbringing, we were not really told to like express thoughts. You know, we were talking about this yesterday too. Like,
so just simple emotions. Like, I wasn't like encouraged to just even talk about my emotions.
Exactly.
So I feel like now that it's like, okay, I'm 30 and I think I could like identify as being asexual, but it's like that took time, because of the past, and similar to you.
Exactly. It's just like, how often did you get to actually explore of like even words to express who you are, of like in your own world of your mindset, anything before your sexuality is like it's an attraction, right? It's an attraction of like, oh, this person I want to vibe with, like in a sexual form. And that attractionness, if you weren't even to vocalize of like who you are,
it's hard to vocalize who you may even be attracted to, because if you can't even talk freely about your own emotions, it's kind of hard to say, well,
like own up to it,
up to like, well, this is how I feel. Like I get, you know, sexually, I know, like aroused seems like such a weird word to say, but it's like, you know, like this person arouses me, this person doesn't, but it's hard to even like explore that area when you've kind of had that like
close exactly. Don't express, like, you know, repress your feelings. Like that's like, if you're not used to that in your childhood, and I know that could at a certain point in your life, I think there's a turnaround of like owning that and being like, okay, I need to go do this, because you can continue to shed it, like it's the victimizing thing, right? Of just like, well, I grew up this way, so I can't talk this way, or you can keep saying that, but there's this limit to it.
Exactly, like you can keep saying that's your label, and this is like, my thing is like, oh, I don't know how to feel loved or be loved, and it's like, I'm not gonna say that for the rest of my life, because I don't want that to be in my future. Like I want to try and change that.
And then I think that taking that first step is always going to be hard, and I think finding the people that you're with is sometimes just meant to be, because I always think about this with like my friendship with you, and I'm like, I know how we met, but I don't know how it was going to affect me on the long run of like acceptance. You were just someone that I was doing a photo shoot for one day. You came over to my house. My hair and makeup artist was there, and I said, "Hi, Yuki. I'm gonna take photos of you today." And then with also this random person that's gonna pretend to be your fiance. You down? And you were down. So down. And I just remember the vibe that you have such a gift. And I know that I say this, like, I am one of your biggest fans, and like I can forever preach it because it's true. Like I think like you help me, like you accepting and having a holding a space of like my words of anything was just a huge thing for me to feel safe enough to a point to explore of like expressing my sexuality, if that makes sense. Because if you weren't open and you weren't accepting for me, like I think I would never have been open about that. Right. But you encouraged me to speak, and like you, and of course aims and stuff, right? Like so many other friends that were just like, just speak, like it's okay, just like be you. And that it's like Bambi trying to like get on their feet, like it's shaky and it's hard, and you're stable, like you're not stable and you're gonna fall, like but in order to feel like you can fall is if you don't feel like you can like have a safe place to like fall
and land. You
guys gave me that support that I think that's why, like, I don't know, I think about this a lot, I don't know how much of my process of my sexuality has been if I didn't meet you guys.
Same, absolutely. And that's like the beautiful thing too, is like sometimes in order to like realize these things, you need to be either introduced to someone who's like maybe gonna like make you realize this, like as in like an intimate partner, or like a group of friends that's like just there to like maybe not identify with you directly, like I can't identify to being pan, but like just someone to like that understands and like that can hold you and that can just support especially for something that's still taboo. You know, there's still a large amount of people and
that's not
out there
familiar.
That just like not familiar, or they're not accepting of people who are not fucking straight or you know just of the norm. But sometimes so like that those feelings probably also are repressed, and like talking about it is repressed, and then when you find this like group of people, you can be like, oh, I have the space to like explore finally. And again, like we've said it so many times already before, it's just like it's this journey, and it will always change, and people can come into your life and help you realize these things about yourself.
Honestly, it helps a lot too. There's as much as like it's nice to have someone that is so secure of themselves to show you what the world is like. I think it's the best is that like you're exploring, I'm exploring, like explore together. Of just like
we'll explore together, but separately in our own journeys. But we know we have each other's back.
That momentum of exploring, of going out to go seek. Like I think because sometimes like a mentor is very nice, and I think everyone's your mentor. Because sometimes if they would be like sit down like, hey, this is how it is, they're putting their own belief onto you that's you can explore, but there's going to be a limit on that because that's a limit of how that person is projecting it on you. And I think that encouragement of exploring for another, even though it's not the same exact thing that we're exploring about, just the thought of exploring, I think that helps as a community. I think that's what a community is about, is that you don't have to fully understand or capture what they are, but let them be. I think holding that space is what community is, and you have constantly done that with even your photography. Like, it shows you have a gift of it shows that physically that you can see that that, and then it's just like your time to do it that for you, and that's hard because I think you're very selfless. Like I think you put other people first, and I think that's why you could do this job, is because you see the other people and you want to let them to have that
see themselves.
And now it's like your time to do it, and your time to shine. Like it always has been, and like at each time that you put yourself out there, even with your own body, I think, and putting your thought out there, it's fucking scary. But every time you do it, like, fear is just the unknown. So you get to know and know and know more. You're never going to know fully, but you're getting closer to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you can constantly do that, and you can just see that shift of just like, I think it's very beautiful that you've been doing it, and I think that helped me motivate that. Like, you just doing of your exploring helped me to be like that push of like, oh, I can try to go explore too, even though it's not in the same exact place. Yeah. So I think it's pretty cool. I think it's just a beautiful thing that you do. Yeah. But you being you. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a dot. I think it's not. I don't think it's fair. Try to figure out an answer. Just one answer and done. You're constantly evolving, changing as a person. Evolving. Like, I think you're just gonna keep evolving until you're just fucking tired or you're out. You know what I mean?
You're like, you know what? This is who I am.
Yeah, I'm tapped out.
I'm tapped out. I'm done with the learning. I'm done with going through the pain and the crying and everything. Yeah, who knows? Maybe one day we'll just be like, you know what? This is it.
Yes, exactly. I think there's gonna be a day, and I think we haven't but explored enough in that part to feel that part of just like the ending goal part of it, because I don't think there's an ending goal unless it's like that feeling of satisfaction for yourself, not for anyone, but just for you. And
that's like having the satisfaction just for you. And I think like when we talk about like us feeling not asexual or pansexual enough, it doesn't have to do with the LGBT plus community at all. Like, we know that we are welcomed for the most part. I did see a very funny TikTok video that I sent you. That, remember the one that was like, excuse me, the hate crime is coming from inside my house. It was just someone saying it was an older gay lesbian, and they were like, it's just LGBT. There's no T, there's no Q, there's no I, there's no A, and so
it goes back to the limiting
belief, but that is not this community at all. But I think our own perception of like why we don't feel enough isn't because of the community, but it's just our own thoughts.
And
it's how we were raised,
projection of like of limiting of like what it's supposed to look like.
Yes,
it's the same as society. It's like they give you this outline of what it's supposed to be, and so that person preaching of it is probably like that was their life. Like this is what it is, and that's what kept them safe, and that's what kept them feel like open. And I like that's great. Yeah. But if you're not constantly like again, unless you're fucking tapped out, you're gonna like keep gonna be exploring. And I think that was an older lady that I think at a certain point that like it's hard too because it's like they battled really hard in their own way. They weren't even accepted.
There were years and decades that were paved before we were even born. Absolutely. And I can understand that maybe there's some strife within the community of some people being like, I don't like all these other letters or
and it's just learning of acceptance, and then again it falls back to like accepting yourself. Like, am I enough about it? Can I worked so hard to be in this label. Why is other things following? It's just a learning of acceptance. So if they accept that, it's like, oh, they're not enemies, they're just like actually they're allies, they're community, then I think it will feel like open. But it's just for them it's just so narrow of this like limited space of this is what it is. And that's just anything with perspective. And then luckily because those people put a pathway to fought so hard to be even accepted as a being, and we're still battling that as just like a being that being okay to be gay. Gay means happy, like being open. Like, why can't we just be happy of like who we are? And like the moment your looks were okay, but your sexuality is like a sin, and so that like you should be gone. Like I don't
like how you present, like how you're physically presenting yourself is wrong.
And it's like me as a being is wrong. It sounds like that's what you're saying. And it's like me as a person, I didn't do anything wrong, and I haven't done. And I think maybe,
and then there's probably the stigma too, like, okay, if I'm asexual, like, how does an asexual person present themselves? I mean, I kind of look asexual. I've got no hair. I've got the septum piercing. I don't really wear makeup. But it's just like, do I need to look like this and all of these things?
I feel that being pansexual is like, am I supposed to look feminine? Am I supposed to masculine? Like, am I supposed to put in a certain... But everyone
But that's the thing with being pan is there's no limit to it.
No, there isn't. And you can free like however you want to be. Like I go by any pronouns, but like I don't have a dot on it. Same with my sexuality, because I feel like there's no limit part of me of how I express.
It's still open because you still have a lot of life to live.
And
who knows what's going to happen.
I'm still balancing out because we all have masculine and feminine. It doesn't mean female male of like physicalness. It's not about that. It's about your energy. And I'm still constantly like balancing out of like every day of like what is masculine, what is feminine within myself, that I don't think I'll ever be able to put a dot on it fully, maybe again until I tapped out. But until then, I don't think I would feel fully like accepted unless like I find that happiness in myself of that balance of like, this is my definition for me. And I think like the older people, they had to find their own definition in a way to move on.
In a time and age where they're, they were just outcasted and called horrible slurs and all these things. So they just had to try and fight to
they were just
be who they felt on the inside.
And just being recognized as a human. Like, I'm a being here too.
Like, why shouldn't that just be enough? Being like, this is how I feel on the inside. But of course, for some people, it's not enough.
It's not enough. And they were probably, I don't know if they were taught that they weren't enough. And I was probably, in certain points, I've always been told that this aspect I'm not enough, this aspect not enough, and that
it bleeds into not feeling enough in the spectrum.
And it took over to me of like, you're not enough. Even though if you think about it, that ratio probably people told me I wasn't enough wasn't even that much. Like, I was very fortunate, like I had people like you have like showered me with like such beauty and kindness that I still let that dark thoughts of people, I don't know, maybe once or twice told me, like, not in my life, but like a person told me, that I I let it stick to me. I let it like as a thing that defined me.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't a definition for me. Like I let it define of like, this is me, I'm not enough. Like I shouldn't be even.
Especially when you're like young and impressionable and it's just like, oh, this is who I am. This is what someone said to me, or this is how I've been treated my whole life, either by family or friends. And you kind of like think like, from how people are responding and reacting to you, like that's your definition of like who you are. And it's hard, like we were just talking about, like some people are in relationships for years and then they get a divorce because they realize that they're attracted to the opposite gender, or they want to switch their gender, and all of these things.
It's constant rotation. Like we feel different every day, and like, but how often do you get to like own up your feeling? Like if we try to figure out in the responsibility of how we feel every single time, we can never go anywhere. That's what overthinking is. And I was a huge overthinker, and I think that was a huge part of it. Is like I overthink so much to a point that like I couldn't speak, and that affected on my eczema, and it's just so hard that I limited myself physically to not go anywhere, and wasn't even exploring of my sexuality at all, because I was limiting myself physically of like, this is like how it's going to be. Like I'm not supposed to be out there. You know what I mean? So,
and okay, so I don't want to talk about dating that much on this podcast because this isn't single and probably asexual and trying to date. This is, I'm asexual, I'm single, I'm happy being single right now. Of course, I maybe want that to change in the future. But for you, when it comes to being pansexual, is there now identifying as that? And then also having the underlying of like being demisexual, needing that emotional connection with somebody. How do you feel like your dating life? Again, I don't want to talk about this too much on like this podcast in general. We're talking about it now, but like it's not a dating podcast. You can be single and happy people. You can thrive. And you can do all these beautiful things to work on yourself to get you to a point where you feel like, for me personally, where I can feel comfortable being in a relationship one day. But yeah, for you, like how has it been dating now being pan? Do you have those thoughts in your head that say, okay, can I date this person? You know, all those, the negative self-talk, the years of conditioning that we've given ourselves, does that still kind of like pop up? Or does that demisexual aspect chime in a lot, which it does for me? Because first, I won't necessarily, I can admire people's beauty for sure, but I won't feel that sexual attraction. But then it just, there needs to be more time and that connection. So is that kind of for you too? Like even though you are pan, you're still demisexual, which means you need that emotional connection with someone in order to feel romantic feelings, sexual feelings for them.
I'm a pansexual, and it's like
I'm a demi-pan.
I'm a demi-pan, and I think just like right now, it's just to a point that like I'm just practicing saying it for myself. That like I don't know if I'm actually stable enough to have another being to be with romantically, because I haven't done that.
Saying facts for myself,
but it's true. Like I think I haven't actually fully accepted myself romantically, of like loving myself. Like I don't think that, like, as cheesy as it sounds, like I'm a huge believer, if you don't have certain aspects of loving yourself, it's going to be really hard to love people.
Other people, that's
really
a
hard.
huge
and
thing.
Both of my relationship, I've only had two, but that was enough for me to recognize of like, I need to prioritize myself.
Yourself, you need to,
And it's not like they were making me not prioritize myself, but I didn't even know where to begin.
It was a realization that you came to conclude for yourself when you were in these relationships. Nothing to do with them. It was just like, I have a lot more healing and growing and learning to do about myself.
Exactly. And then if they were able to evolve with me, that's great. Like I've talked to this with my mom and my dad of like how much of like partnership, even friendships, everything with a partnership, togetherness is either you continuously evolve together, or you evolve and you fall apart, or you grow apart.
You go to the expiration date of that friendship, relationship. You happily part ways. Obviously, it was still necessary. But
and if it comes back together, that's great. But it is just, for you, it's always just like, it's only one or the other.
Exactly.
And that if I would still be with these partners if we both understood what it means to own ourselves, to accept ourselves, you know? And of just like having that safety. I don't think I've ever felt safe with anyone because I didn't feel safe with myself. I was a very fragile mindset of like, and we've talked about this before, of like, mental health, of like being suicidal and stuff. Like, I wasn't trying to live. I was constantly trying to end. That I didn't even know what living meant. That definition wasn't even important to me. Sexuality wasn't even important to me that much.
I mean, sexuality is like on the back burner when you're like thinking about like, should I get up today?
Yeah, exactly. That's
literally should I be a human today?
Exactly.
Yeah, and those are.
And you don't even know what you're here for. Like, why? It wasn't a pleasure moment. Like, it was like, I was just trying so hard to, like you said, wake up. Like, open my eyes and feel like, am I actually dreaming? Or am I actually awake? Like, it's a constant battle. And you just don't know where to start from. And I think it's just, like, feeling safe. But if you're, like, fucking Bambi that trying to wake up and trying to get up, like, there's always someone to, like, it's okay, you know, like, try to hype them up and, like, luckily I had a community like you to hype me up that. But if I didn't have that, which I didn't back then, because those people around me were like, they didn't even know what that definition means. Like, Japan, they're finally accepting what gay is. Right? That, like, I don't think that was even a perspective or like a thing for them, and I think it's still hard to them to.
Japan is very traditional when it comes to work, old family, school. Very old school, very traditional.
It's always man of the house, woman's this, and I'm
Provide,
sure that was
woman
this
stays
for,
home.
And I've talked about sexuality with my parents a lot because, like, I know they accept me for me, and luckily both of my parents, even though they don't know the definition, they understand that, like, people are just people, and they understand of, like, whoever you love is whoever you love, and experience it. That's great. Like, they never think that, they don't think I need labels. They think that I just be to be, and labels are to help me. And that's, I think, their way of saying, like, I accept for you, but it is hard to talk to them of what, like, I don't think I'll ever be able to talk about this thing to my family in Japan. I don't think they will understand that concept because
they're like, what the fuck does pansexual mean?
They're like, what does it mean? Because I think they finally get what gay means. Like, oh, you like someone at the same being of, like, physically. But it's like, no, it's not just about the physicality of it. Like, it's just kind of like who I am. Like, you know, like, it's just like understanding to own myself. Like, it's weird that sounds like that. Like, I was really lucky that I grew up in a community that accepts for me of, like, just a being. But if I grew up in a situation, there's a lot of places still in the U.S. is huge. That I think there's a lot of places that still doesn't accept you as you, of, like, because they don't know the definition. Like, it's scary of how much you can limit someone's world by just how you grew up with and how this is how it's supposed to look
like how you think it's supposed to look, or,
exactly. So
and that's why I feel like when you were mentioning earlier about needing to heal and work on yourself in order to be with someone, I relate with that so much because I feel like I am someone who I'm pretty stubborn sometimes, as in, like, I don't like, I've got patience. I can be around kids, and I got that kind of patience. I don't have patience for being in floozy relationships or doing these things, like, and I know that's, like, part of me, it's limiting myself, but at the same time, I'm still exploring myself, and I want to know who I am and what I'm going to offer to a future partnership or person before I get there. But it's so hard for me personally to say, because like you said, people either grow together or they split. And it's so hard for me to sometimes think that, like, okay, well, I can just explore, which I know I can. But then there's that demisexual in me. There's the super freaking independent woman who lives on her own in a van and runs her own business and doesn't have anybody telling her what to do. And there's that part of me that's just like, no, I want to wait until it's right, until I know it's right in myself. But having, like, again, I know I probably could do this, but it just doesn't relate to me internally now. But I feel like it's so hard to date when you're still learning so much about yourself and your sexuality, because it's either like you can either get someone who's going to be a solid partner. Like, for a beautiful example is I have a friend of mine, he transitioned he transitioned a while ago, but I knew him from grade school when he was formerly known as Danielle. Yeah. Now he's Danny. Yeah. And I love this story because he and his partner, when Danny and his partner were together, they were lesbians. They were women and they were together. Oh, okay. And then there was this evolve for Dan, and he transitioned. He had top surgery. He's on T and everything. And his partner married, and they're still together. And it's just like, that is beautiful. And it's so inspiring. But it's also like, not every relationship can be like that, or not every person can be like that, because change can be difficult and scary for some people. And like, Dan's partner could have just noped the fuck out. Been like, this is different for me. But it was just like, nope. I love this person. And it doesn't matter that they used to look this way. And now they look this way. It doesn't matter, because it's just that person. And like, so I would love to think like, I'll just meet that person and they'll carry me through as I learn and as I grow. Just like thinking about, my friend's relationship with their partner and how they're, it's just beautiful and everything. But it's so... I know that that's not the case a lot of the time. And so for me, I'm just like, I'm not going to go there.
Because you're kind of like still figuring out, filtering out like the relationship of yourself, like your own emotions and what you've been through. Like, it's you grow apart or you grow together. Anything in a relationship in yourself, like certain habits of like me not feeling good enough, I can bye-bye. Like I can grow apart from that, but I'm still trying to figure out how to separate. It's a toxic relationship with it, right? Of like, I want to leave this thought, but I can't. Right. So if you try to like, what is it called? Cold turkey? Like if you try to suddenly like stop doing it, like that can be really hard.
It can be triggering and traumatic and make you want to go back to whatever that thing is that you're trying to quit.
You can only do it unless you feel that security of yourself. And in sexuality wise, like, it's hard to, and I talk to this to my friends that are in a relationship, right? And they're happy and they look, and it's going to be a battle no matter what. And it's that, just that battle of the effortless effort of like some battles are meant to continuous to work on. Some battles is just you're harming each other. You need to separate. Right. And I don't think you recognize that separation unless you figured out yourself.
Right. And it could be beautiful learning experiences.
It's going to be beautiful no matter what.
You can get into relationships when you still don't feel secure in yourself or your sexuality or how you are. Yeah. And you can get into relationships and they could maybe not go that great, and which is fine, but it's like, it is, you can continue to learn. Yeah. But sometimes the stubbornness in me is like, I ain't even gonna go there.
Oh, it's hard.
I don't got time.
Yo, it's the energy and time to put at it. And then that, I think, honestly, it's so funny because I think as you grow up, you get more limited of your energy, of your time, of like, of what you want to put in. Yeah. That I think you slowly, I think when we were younger, like, to me, as like overthinking, I honestly think it stopped by just realizing like I'm just tapped out. Like I warned myself so much that it doesn't even matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Like overthinking is just thoughts in your head that's like constantly running that no one put it in. You put that input and you started a whole fucking novel about this. And if I can write all these stories about myself, I can actually define myself in a different way. Yeah. And I think that helped me, like, just being, I guess, tired, but I think just putting my energy to something else that I rather do helped me execute the thoughts that wasn't needed. So it wasn't like cold turkey. It was like helping me slowly grow apart from it. For me, with my relationship, not enough was that too, of just having that of like, I appreciate you protected me in a certain way, but I don't need you anymore. Like, thank you next and stuff. And then that's same with like partners too. Like, they might not have the same definition as you, and you both realize that. Yeah. And that was both of my past relationships, is that we thought we saw eye to eye, but we didn't, and we were hopeful that one will be changing. Right. And that's selfish to feel that that person's going to change for you. Right. We both thought of that, and because you were hopeful that you do love this person for them, but it's just our, what is it called, baseline of traits of what we actually prioritize was really drastically different. We just had common little things that connected us.
Yeah. And like, and you'll get into that a lot. Like, I hear so many people being like in relationships and stuff, And it's like, you'll get into that where it's just like, oh, there's just not a lot either in common or there. But then it's like, okay, well, then why are you still in this relationship? Yeah. And then that goes into like people being codependent and people needing comfort and support and all that stuff, which is like, it's necessary. I understand. Yeah. But to transition a little bit here, we can talk about this like for the rest of the podcast, or the episode. So being single, is a beautiful thing. Yeah, and like even us just talking about like how we're exploring ourselves and our sexuality, it's like it's happening because of a lot of things. Community. We get older, we get more comfortable with ourselves. The negative self-talk kind of like dissipates a little bit more. But brain fart, where was I going with that? Being single? But being single. Yeah. But like we have this time that we're on our own. Yeah. We're not thinking about anybody's opinion, perspective. Yeah. We're fully working like on ourselves. Yes, yes. So because like you, like similar to me, like you've only had you've had 2 relationships. Yeah. I've had 1 in my entire life. They were not like super, super, super long. No. Mine was like a blip in the fucking Matrix or something. Just a tiny, okay, we're done. But what is like for you being single, like what does that mean for, not necessarily what does it mean for you, but how, like, what do you appreciate about being single for yourself?
Oh my God. I'm actually so happy being single, and I think it's helping me look forward to my next relationship, because I think this is just doing completely for me, but I can see myself by me being completely myself, and someone is just accepting that and like, I want to vibe with you, and I'm perfectly like happy to do that. And I think that's your person of like romantically, is that they want to be with you, like I don't think anyone can be with anyone like 24/7 constantly, because exactly.
I mean, maybe one day, but then still, even that, it's just like
it's a lot. Like I think everyone needs a certain balance. Yeah,
because if you are still your own person. Exactly. Even when you're in a relationship, when you're in a partnership, when you have a family, when you are now mom or dad or parent or step-parent, you are still your own individual person. And like, especially if you're a parent, it's like, how are you going to show up? Not like you and your partner, especially if you guys are not together, but it's just, how are you going to show up
for you,
for that person as yourself? Like, you still need to have some like semblance, like some like, you still need to have some knowing of like who you are, even like when you do get into a relationship. But then I see so many people where it's just the codependency is just like,
yeah, I know it's kind of like I think if it works for you, that's great. But I think for some people, that partnership is that they found themselves in them, not you finding yourself with them, but you found yourself in them. And it's that,
and then that's hard to let go.
That's hard to let go, because it's like you left something, a part of you, and like they can be part of your life, but you are as a whole as yourself. I think I don't think everyone agrees to this, but I think partnership is that there's 2 or more wholes. Like I think you are a whole yourself, and not that's your other half, or third, or whatever. Like I think they're not they're a part of you in your community, but they're not a piece of you. And I think recognizing that has been helping me. I'm just excited for my next. It's scary
for the future. I have
no clue how this is going to turn out, because like, again, I think dating is hard is because I think that first part of getting to meet you, getting to know you, because I found my people of supporting me, but it's just the sexuality part is like, I want to explore that, but at the same time, I'm not feeling any need to of like putting myself there. And I think it's because I'm still insecure of like my part of who I am. And maybe someday there is going to be someone or multiple people that is like encourages me for me and they want to be with me romantically. I think that's great. I think that if that's the case, but if I would like to be somewhat in my own base, and you're not going to know yourself 100% till whenever you're here, right? I don't think there's anyone, maybe 99.9% they did, but not 100%. Yeah. And I feel like I didn't even know the baseline of who I was, that it was still not a platform, and now I have finally a platform that I can actually step on. It's like seeing the view, like of that, stepping that step, and then just looking at the view of
the future and what could come.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's great. But now, because I was hidden in the trees, like, and no one can find me, but now I'm going above the trees and be like, I guess you can find me, you can come find me, but I'm still going to be here.
I love that analogy of like the stepping up, because the stepping up is that's you working on yourself, whether you're in a relationship or not. Yeah. But for a lot of times, like people, they work on themselves when they're single because they have that time to focus because they're not dedicating themselves to somebody else as well. Yeah. But I love that analogy of like you're working on yourself. You make a step up, and then you can kind of see the greater view, the bigger picture of like the future and what could be. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And I love it because there, you know, that analogy of like look back of how far you've come.
Look down at like how far you've climbed.
Yeah. And I always love that, but I always look back so much, but I don't think I was actually seeing my view that I'm stepping on. And I think this is part of me for seeing like I did come this far, and I'm so fucking proud of myself. But also looking at it and be like, oh my god, guys, like I think I'm ready. Like you can see me if you wanted to. Like I'm standing here, but I'm not waiting for someone to pick me up. It's just like, oh, yo, do you see that thing over there? Let me go check it out. And then like demisexual I want to go vibe with that chick and like go and come up to me and have a conversation.
You're like, but get on my level. Have you done the self-work? Are you at step number 39? Because I'm on step number 39.
Self-recognition of like doing that work for yourself.
Doing that work, and that work is hard and loud.
Yeah, and like recognizing if someone comes up to you, and I think if you have some certain acknowledgement of like who you are, you know how to like filter out who's that person for you, who's not, pretty quickly. Right. I think like it's just a matter of practice of I don't think you need to date multiple people to understand. I think it's to date yourself. Of who you are in a relationship of yourself. Yeah. You can recognize that person if that person's your person. If it flows of you being you and they're being them, I think that's your person. Yeah. But if you feel any shift in yourself that you have to adjust for that person, and you're gonna make adjustments no matter what. Friendships too, like you always make adjustments. For sure. But if that adjustment is like you're pushing yourself to be this certain person for that person, that's not for you. Exactly. So as long as you know where your core that's most valuable, and that that's the stubbornness that I think is allowed to come out, and being grounded, like this is who I am, and this is my happy place. Right. Like
I have worked to get myself to this spot here.
Yes. I think if there's certain limit to like not becoming like the older people of like, you know, I worked really hard, this is who I am, and just putting that into a square or like in a box. But so I think that helps me recognize like I need to feel open whenever of like with thoughts, but protect my own like feelings and thoughts with like how I've come far to this day, and me is standing, and like that's also
you literally just being here too.
Just me being me. And I think also that it really helped me though is because I have people like you of being like, I can feel like I can look at you guys and own up to it, if that makes sense. Like I can feel like I can stand on my ground, and because like you guys be like, why are you squatting? Like you can stand up proud. And
we're on our hands and knees because we're helping you step up. I was the 39th step, not with me. But one of those steps.
You are definitely, for sure. You made that sparkly holographic, like, bitch, here you go. Stand right
this
here.
Is a rainbow step. Yes. That's holographic and
sparkles.
Emits rays.
I love that. And I think that's just the beauty of what community is. And I think you have shown me that. And so I'm just so grateful of like your existence, who you are. And it's just honored again. It goes back to I'm just honored to be here, to be able to have this conversation, because this conversation is going to help me again to push myself to put out there.
And then hopefully like other people who are listening that can just be like, oh my god, same. Like I identify with this. I'm like, maybe I've had.
Oh my god, please come and talk to us. Like,
please come and talk to us. Like, we're gonna have Yuki on several episodes. She'll be my co-host.
Oh my god!
No, but that is my plan and my goal for the podcast is I want to meet other people, especially asexual people, especially people who are perpetually single. Like I want to get that perspective because it's so. Even today, it's like you've got to find love. Yeah. And like I get it, love is beautiful and it's important. It's like worth doing everything and living for. But it's so
it's a broad topic.
It's a broad topic, and then for a lot of people, it's like, well, you have to find love as in like that partner, and then you got to like settle and like do your life and have the family. Like you have to do all these things. It's like, well, what if I don't want kids? What if I don't want a family? Or what if I don't want to ever get married, but I still want like a partnership, or I want to be with multiple people?
It's just like defining your own love, like what that means to you, because like no one can define what love is. It's so broad. It's not specific at all. Like it's probably the broadest thing ever. And even yesterday being here, and I was just like with you guys, like it naturally flows as love. Like I think it's supposed to be a natural flow thing. Like I couldn't help it but ooze out love when I see you guys, and when I talk to you guys, when you guys are in my presence, and like that doesn't have to be people defining romantically or partnership. Like just that feeling of accepting is just so beautiful, and just doing that and learning that with yourself is so important. But in
and having that community to like lift you up, and that's what like. Because obviously, like, being single comes with its challenges. Like, it can be fucking hard sometimes. It can either be lonely, isolating. I get overwhelmed on a day-to-day basis that I have to do everything myself. I have to do everything. I gotta do my taxes. I gotta wake myself up. I gotta make myself food. I gotta walk my dog. I gotta do all these things. And sometimes that can just be so overwhelming. But even being single and having true community, not preached community, but soulful community that you can feel, that's not just being spoken to you, but like that you can actually feel, that makes me feel even better in my, I'm not going to say situation, because I'm not in a situation. I'm doing great in life. But it's like, but being single, it's like, it can be hard, but having that community of like love and acceptance, it can like make it a little easier.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's very beautiful that you speaking your truth and you're putting yourself out there, and you have continuously doing that. And this is not just another part of your like chapter of like putting of who you are out there, because you have other platforms of that you were expressing of who you are, and people connected that with you and be like, oh my god, like I'm pretty sure your words, your pictures have literally saved so many people, because I'm definitely one of them. You have saved so many people. And I think with this podcast too, I think there's going to be people, like you said, are going to connect and be like, oh my god, this is okay to talk about. You know, it's like you're holding space.
This is like a little, like, this is kindergarten sexuality
here.
Like we are learning, we are growing. We want to explore everything.
Exactly. So I think it's just a beautiful thing, and I'm just so grateful of like everyone that was really making it far to like trying to help us more, because I think if we're in that community or just in that space of just like constant battle of like life or death, I don't think we had this kind of leeway of to even talk about these things,
or feel supported by people who are ready to support you. Genuinely,
and it's like you need to have that security to provide that, and I think that's not easy to do if you don't have anything to like help you to like see as an example. And like I think this would be a good example. I'm sure maybe there's a lot of people out there we just don't know that is feeling exactly the same thing or doing this too, and who knows that by putting it, you'll get to connect more to a community that you're supposed to be with. So I think this is just a beautiful, amazing start, and I'm again so honored that you're letting me be here to have this. You don't even know, this is helping me so much. Of just like,
it's helping me too. And
I think this is what conversations are supposed to be like. This is again like these are conversations we have
all the time,
and we're just recording
we're just recording it now.
Exactly. And then like looking back, like I love what about recordings is like you get to see it, come back to it, and see how far you've come, because we are going to improve. Our thoughts are going to change, and I think we're going to evolve in certain things, and I'm just excited that at a certain point we're going to come back and just be like, look at how far we're going to be in another step.
Look at how
the 40th step next.
We're at step 49 now. Yeah, exactly. That step is clear. Exactly. Like we don't even. There's no color to that step. We're walking on clouds at this point.
Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, I love that.
That step is translucent.
Oh my god, I love that. So, oh my my God. Again, like, thanks so much. Like, I really appreciate you. Again, it's a whole body place. Like, you are someone who has been always an example.
Thank you.
For me. And, like, I just can't wait for this energy, dude. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited of how this is going to unfold for you.
Yeah.
And how this is going to open up for you.
I am so excited. I mean, I have, as you know, I have such a hard time taking compliments and, like, even doing my job and my photography, like, I've gotten better at it because, like, I do know I am a legit photographer and I create beautiful work, but it's so hard to, like, take that compliment. And it's just the whole, you know, you're suppressing yourself, your emotions and everything. And so, I just want this podcast to just be like, the door is open and like, we're going to talk freely and we're going to figure things out together, and I'm going to figure that out with other people and, you know, hear other people's opinions and perspectives, because for so long, I mean, I was just like, okay, I'm not going to take any compliments. I don't want to learn about anything. It's just like, I need to stay in my bubble of like, sad Kendra, or like too independent Kendra, or like Kendra doesn't need no person, no man, no woman, no whatever.
And it's like validating those thoughts too. It's like, that was your way of protecting yourself.
That was my way of protecting myself. And this is like
yourself safe.
Hugely vulnerable. Like I've been talking about this podcast for years. And like I had the name for this podcast last year, 8 months ago at this point. Like, this has been so, even just to get here, like sitting with you here today, it's been like, it's been a journey, because it's so emotions and being vulnerable and like talking about things that are taboo to a lot of people still, and
it pushes you to own up of like what your thoughts are really for, you know,
and like validating them, and even though if you have these thoughts, it's like, that's okay, like people can still learn.
Exactly. And I think that just owning up to that you are a gift and you have such a gift, like you were just born with, and that just putting that out there, like I am probably annoyed you so much of how much I love you and how much a gift that you are, but it's just owning up to that, like you having that for you, right, and that you just,
and you help me with that too, because every time I'm like, okay, Kendra, receive the fucking compliment, receive the love, let it seep into your body. Don't just like, I got that shield up and like I'm in my box, I'm in my protected box. Exactly. So no, I always appreciate every all the time. I'm just like, you don't even know what to say to you. Like, stop, you're being too nice.
It's the thing, but it wouldn't happen unless like I feel it, right? Like you help me, like even it could be so annoying, like, because if I was on your side, I would be too, because I'm exactly the same. I'm like, girl, I can't even like accept that myself. Like, I don't even deserve it.
But like, that's helping me. Like, even you are helping me when I hear people compliment my photography, clients, people who I have never even met. And it's just, I'm trying to like
accept it and just grow more from it. It's hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard. You know, it's just like we're here together with one another to have that growth of just like, it's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like a little nudge, or like holding hands, or like whatever. It's just like supporting of one another. You got this. We got this.
We got this.
I think we both have a hard time thinking of we.
Like,
I got this was all we had. Is that we is, or like, so
I'll take care of this. Oh, this thing's going wrong. I'll fix it. I'll do it. Because I have to. Sort of
and
thing.
Also, just it was probably in a way that was just easier to like just do it yourself than actually communicate someone to do something.
Even like, when the communication is just like, I don't know how to fucking speak.
It's so hard.
I don't know how to ask you to like take me to this place or help me get this fixed.
Like, what if you don't want to, and what if you're suppressing yourself? And because we suppressed ourselves to not speak what we wanted, that I think we have a hard time asking that from someone, because what if they feel the same of like, oh, I can't say no, or I don't know how to say like accept this, and like, at this point you just gotta accept yourself of your own thoughts of just like, oh, this is okay, and this is not okay, and not okay is okay,
exactly.
I think we always think of not okay was bad.
Not okay
is okay.
It's okay.
You're not okay with it,
exactly. And again, it's like the learning and the growing. And like with this podcast and so many fears that I had around it, it was just like, am I asexual? Am I all these things? Am I okay to talk about this? Am I okay to be like in the plus category of, or well, I'm in there. I'm the A.
Exactly. I am enough. Like, I am right there.
Right, and that's like hard to just be like, okay, no, I am here.
Yes, and I mean, anyone who's listening to this too, of like just even, there's going to be more add-ons. We're going to keep growing, and if you don't feel like you define it in that for now, that's okay.
Right.
If you feel whatever you feel is validated, it's your thoughts. You don't have to push it against anyone, but like if that makes sense for you, own up to it.
Right.
And I know that's hard if you don't have a community to feel that way, but I hope this, even just as this holding space of just with hearing and just like talking it out, like I hope that they can feel somewhat accepted, and I think they would. I think you are creating such a huge thing for so many people, and I can't wait to hit her up. Literally hit her up. I think this is going to help so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, for you and them.
Right, exactly.
I think there's just people, I can feel it, of just people eager to just like, oh my God. And they might be probably too scared to actually reach out at first. I think they're still downloading of who they are as well.
Yeah. But, I mean, listen, take it. Yeah. Year plus talking about this podcast.
Yeah.
Finally had the guts to do it, you know, now. But it is scary.
Like, as much as it's like been a year, you can look at it as only a year. It's only been a fraction of your life, and you came this far. You're actually doing this. Like,
we're fucking recording.
Oh my God. And like, you made it into action. Like, we can think, because I have all these thoughts. Like, what if, or I want to do this, wants this, needs, and I don't get to it because of the fear. And you're doing something that scares you is like,
you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think you're one of the fearless, bravest person, and I know you have a hard time accepting that, because it's like, I'm still a baby to learn this, and it's like, well, that's what you're fearless about it, is because you're doing it, you're taking it into action, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm just
so
proud of you. I'm just like the happiest like fan over here.
It's like episode interview 1. We're gonna ask Yuki some questions. Yeah. And Yuki's just gonna shower me with compliments.
It's hard not to, you know? Like when you
If you haven't told by now, we're good friends.
Oh my god. But even from the start, I just met you. It was like hard not to.
Oh god, yeah.
You know,
were like this
when
instantly.
You see like a beautiful sunset, like how do you, or like this beautiful fucking view. We have a beautiful view right now
today, and the clouds and the sun are out.
I think it's our energy, dude. I think we uplifted it. It's hard not to, you know. And
we're
I
in
think
a vortex right now. We're in Shasta. We're in a vortex.
Yes.
So
oh my god.
We are adding to this vortex of magicalness.
Yes. Oh my god. Because we're magical beings.
Yeah.
I think we're just magical people that we limit our magic.
Yes.
And I think we're just learning how to use our magic.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Society, everything tells us to be one way or not express. And all of this stuff.
All this stuff. But look at us.
Look at us.
We're actually taking action. We're actually creating something. And I think that's so beautiful. So thank you again for letting me be that person.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
Thank you for being my first interviewee.
I think so. Yeah, interviewee.
And like, I think obviously you're going to be back on the podcast.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, I think it'd be fun to even have you as like, maybe we talk to another person and like, so there's because I always love listening to podcasts. Like, I love listening to podcasts where it's just one person, multiple people, but I love hearing like the other people's other comments and like I love Armchair Expert, and it's like Dax and Monica and then their interview people, and it's just I love hearing. It's great to always have more perspectives.
Exactly.
But I appreciate you being the first. Thank you for making this feel less scary.
Oh my god, absolutely. And that's the thing, is that doing scary stuff with friends is a way to take a huge step. Like, you don't have to do anything.
That's what I did with like the Impossible Boards project. I was like, this is terrifying. I don't even know if I'm going to get people who, and I got like over, like I saw so many submissions to be a part of it. And it was like, that was amazing. And I'm hoping that for the same. Like, I want to talk to more people, and we want to love people who are on the spectrum, who are asexual, who are demi, who are gay, who are pan, who are trans, and then who are also single.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that we don't have to do this alone.
Exactly.
Like I think we have
and there's beauty to it as well.
Yeah. Being single, being like not loneliness, but being alone, being an individual. There's a beauty in it, and being individual with an individual like this, you can start something beautiful.
There's strength in both of them. There's strength just being being on your own and going through life and working and exploring about who you are. And then there's also strength when like you could be with someone. And
exactly.
We're humans.
We're humans. Yeah. We're just creating the bridge. I love this, how bridges, you need two sides to actually form something together.
Right.
And I think we're creating something, a pathway to people to actually cross that rainbow bridge.
We're creating bridges and steps.
Yes. Oh my god, I love it. Oh my god.
All right, Yuki, I love you.
I love you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I can't wait to all the episodes, how it's going to turn out.
Me freaking too. And everybody, you are going to hear her voice a lot more.
Get familiar.
I'm be around it. We're stepping up. All right, bye. Thank you guys so much for listening to my first interview episode with my dear friend Yuki Kashiwaya. If you guys are interested in following along with her and her story and journey, you can do so on Instagram at Yuki's_rhythm journal. That's YUKIS_rhythm journal. Until next time.